Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. This is a podcast to inspire, uplift, show forth the love of God, and help usher in the spiritual awakening. Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. I'm your host, Jay Spillers. I have a guest today, AJ Parker. AJ, how are you?
Hi, my name is AJ Parr. It's really a pain name.
Oh, Park.
My real name is Alvaro Parra. But since the American audience, it's a really strange name for Americans, I go by AJ, which are the initials of my two first names, and my last name Parra is derived from Parr, Parr. Mine is Parra. Pleased to meet you. I know we've shared messages, exchanged messages, but it's the first time we really have a conversation. So I'm glad to be here. Um,
Yeah, it was good to meet you. So, where are you originally from?
okay, I'm from Venezuela. I'm living in Colombia. Uh, I used to live in the Andes. You know, the Andes is a long chain of mountains that goes all the way from the tip of South America from the northern tip to the southern tip. So it is a long chain of mountains, and due to the political situation in Venezuela, which is now take it's 20 years ago, it was taken over by a socialist government. Well, I left and went. I'm living here in Colombia, which is next door, and 2 years ago, I started interviewing near-death experiencers. But 30 years ago, I began what I call comparative study of religions. I started comparing, let's say, the root of all religions. This was based on a near death like experience that I had, in which I went through the void, this void of blackness, and I also merged with the light. And when I merged with the light, I experienced oneness. And during this experience, I could look up, down, to the right, to the left. I could see in all directions at the same time. This was in the middle of the night. I had this experience. It was like a dream. And I entered into this dimension in which I could see in all directions at the same time. And I knew it was not this 3D world because it was in this 3D world you cannot see to the front and to the back at the same time, much less to all the sides at once. And I also felt that I was one with the universe, and I was basically light. I had no thought, but when I came back, when I found myself on my bed and I said, "Wow!" I knew I had been there, but I did not understand what had gone, what would happen, what had happened. So I got up from my bed. I knew it had been like a mystical experience, but I felt I was one with everything. So I got up and I pressed my hand against the wall, and I felt my hand pressing against the wall, but I also felt I was the wall pressing back. So I understood that what we think we are is only, let's say, an illusion, and that we are in fact everything. After that, I had a download. I understood everything at the moment, but I could not express it in words. I simply had no questions. I understood everything, but I could not. It's not that I had all the answers, because when you say the word answers, it means a logical explanation. I simply had no questions. I understood everything. And I had this download that, because I did ask, okay, so what is this? What's going on? And I felt a presence of, of a very old entity. And I heard this, or I more or less felt it. In the beginning was the one. And the one was alone and wanted to play. So the one divided himself into two, and he gave number two amnesia, and thus the game began. So this explained to me that we are all that one that we experience when people experience oneness. We experience this universal consciousness, God. It has many names, but when we experience this, we are actually experiencing ourselves. And what we are experiencing now as human beings is an illusion. I studied the different religions trying to find an explanation. And one of the explanation is the Hindu religion talks about Maya, talks about the illusion. Jesus also talked about this illusory world, of power, of having, of gathering richness in this world and not in the other world. So it's something that all the religions talk about. Um and what I realized is that what we're doing now, and now that after studying all this, I understood why we go through reincarnations, and that our journey is from this individual being, from here, to going back home, going back to what we were, going back to what we are, which is all, which is oneness. And that is when you feel one with someone, that that translates into love. When you have a loved one, you feel united with that person. You feel that you two are one. And a lot of mystical people, when they see other people, they say that they see the God within. I don't know if you've heard that, but people, mystical people in all religions, they find that oneness in everything. They say, no, we are brothers and sisters. We are, if I help you, I'm helping myself. And they tend to live a life guided by the golden rule: don't do to others what you would not like oth- for others to do to you. They and also what I found in the near-death experiencers that I have interviewed is that when you go through a life review, you you get to experience what you did, but you also get to experience what the other people felt. So somehow, during the life review, you take the place of the other people and you can see yourself from their perspective. And when I started studying different religions, I realized, I said, okay, this experience, this oneness experience, is found in all the religions. It cannot be defined with words. It's just like God. You cannot define God with words. You can say God, but is he God? We call him God. Other people call him Allah. Other people call him Brahman. Other people call him the Tao. It's does he have a name? Is he a he or a she? Everything we can say about God or about that oneness is illusory. It's an illusion. Words cannot express. We think words can express everything, but words cannot express God. They cannot express love. They cannot express life. They cannot express anything. It's someone who has never drank water. If you try to describe to that person what water is, they will never understand. Words only serve to get across an idea when that other person also knows what you're talking about. You cannot describe, someone has not tasted chocolate. No matter how you try to explain the flavor, the other person will never experience it. You see? So we are limited by words. And that is the basis. I found that the perhaps the most uh, perfect religion, if it is a religion, is Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism claims that you cannot say anything about anything. Whatever you say, it's an illusion. So, the only thing we can do that is really true is be present in this moment, in this time and place. You can be present, you can experience. If you are drinking water, you feel that water in you. But whatever you think about that action, you're speculating. Okay, so life is simpler than than we feel. The joy of living is not trapped in having money or in having fun. No, enjoy your life as it is. Enjoy every moment and try to be mindful. That is the basic teaching, you know. Try to be mindful. If you're going to do something, enjoy it. Be present.
I'm so excited to offer you the opportunity to support my work and to be mentored by me to get special perks and benefits. It's Jay's VIP membership club, which will give you extra meditations, exclusive talks, added benefits and discounts not generally shared with everyone else, and much, much more. Join Jay's VIP membership club hosted on Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. I will become your mentor. You will be able to learn more about meditation as I become your personal meditation teacher. For $10 a month, 33 cents a day, you can support this channel. Buy Me a Cup of Coffee also gives you the option to provide a one-time donation if you just simply want to support my work and say thank you for the work that I do.
That's why Jesus said, be like the lilies in the field. He also talked about the birds in the field, that they did not worry about tomorrow. They lived one day at a time. So I found through my experience that I could understand basically all the religions, you know, not completely, but the roots. For example, in the Chinese, the Tao Te Ching is a sacred book. It starts out saying, the Tao that you speak about, the Tao that you mention is not the Tao. What is the Tao? They call that's their way of calling God. Okay, so if you translate that, you can say the God that I'm talking about is not the real God, because when we give it a name, we are this virtualizing what it truly is. When I say justice, doesn't mean the same to you. I mean, it depends on your own beliefs. If I say love, perhaps the love that you feel is not the same love that I feel. You see, everything is. If I talk about freedom, for a slave, the word freedom is one thing. For a kid, the word freedom is another thing. For someone who has debts in his life and doesn't know how to pay them, freedom means something else. So it's more or less of what Einstein said. You know, everything is relative. So this placed me in a position in which I started 30 years ago studying different religions, and I studied them for 20 years. And after 20 years, I decided to start writing about them. I did not mention my experience because I felt, because the times I tried to share my experience with other people since I didn't even understand what had happened. People thought I was crazy. Okay, so I started publishing books about Hinduism, Buddhism. I wrote a book about the Dalai Lama, the Ramana Maharshi, Zen Buddhism. I did my research and I came up with what I call the secret teachings of Jesus, which are basically Jesus taught meditation, Jesus taught mindfulness, Jesus taught all this. I also did a research to see which was the oldest religion in the world, and I found that in the they call it the Hindus Valley, where India is presently, before the Aryans came, the Aryans took over uh, India, and they created what the books of the Vedas, which are the oldest written books in history. The Vedas, okay, there are four basic Vedas, but even before that, in the Hindus Valley, the, there was a religion, and this was the religion of Maya, the religion of the illusion, and they had figures of women. For them, according to the archaeologists, their deities were women. Okay, they had this fat woman, which it resembled Mother Earth. You can say it's Gaia. In South America, they call her Pachamama. So initially, God was not a man. Okay, so They depicted God as Mother Earth, Mother Nature. Okay, and their teachings was that that we are trapped in a world of illusions in which we think in terms of power, richness, good and bad. So when I realized this, I said, okay, if this is the original teaching, then I must be able to find evidence of this in all the religions, including mainly the Bible, because I was brought up in a Catholic home. So I said, okay, I'm going to try to see where I can find this. It was really easy to find it in the Zen Buddhism and teachings. Everything is an illusion. Whatever we say is only is another illusion. So I started saying, okay, where can I find this? And I went to the Bible, to the book of Genesis. I know this is a metaphorical story. It's not, I don't believe Adam and Eve existed, but this was an ancient teaching for those who were in the spiritual path. So the story of Adam and Eve mentions the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and bad. Okay, the tree of life. Okay, we could say that mindfulness, tree of life. Okay, living, and the book of the knowledge of good and bad is simply our intellectual mind, our chattering mind, our thinking mind, thinking in terms of words, thinking in terms of good and bad. So that's why Adam and Eve, according to the story, when they left the paradise, they saw themselves naked and they covered themselves. Because before that, there was no good and bad. So I said to myself, wow, this is more or less a representation of human beings. When we were back in prehistoric times, before we developed complex speech, before we started thinking verbally, perhaps we talked, but before we started thinking verbally, and our chattering mind took over our heads, there was no good and bad. It wasn't bad. Sex wasn't bad. killing someone, if another tribe came and tried to kill my tribe, I would kill. That wasn't bad. Everything is relative, like I said before. So I started saying, okay, if this is true, then this is the secret knowledge of the of all religions. So I know that the Jewish faith, they have the Kabbalah, which is a secret teaching also, and they have like the tree of life represented in the different Sephiroth, and on top they have what they call the Ein Sof Hour, which is the undefinable God, the God that you cannot speak about, the God that you cannot imagine. So I said, okay, it's there, then Jesus must have mentioned it too. And he did when he said that God is love. Somehow the gospels say that God is light. The image of this old man in heaven, it's mentioned in the Bible, but it's only a representation. God goes beyond any religion. God does not belong to it, to Christians or to Jews or to Hindus. It doesn't belong to humans. It existed way before humans appeared on Earth. It's something abstract. We cannot represent it, but it is all energy, all light, all love. That's our way of representing it. So by studying the life of Jesus, I realized that he was not after materialistic objectives. He was not seeking power. He was seeking something else. He wanted us to appreciate life. He wanted us to love one another and to understand that we are all one. Okay? So basically, and then when I started seeing, okay, did he teach meditation or not? I studied let's say, the original Christians. Who were the original Christians? Well, as soon as when Jesus was alive, some people say that he had like 70 followers, but when he died, there was like a first church where his apostles met with these people who lived in a community in which they shared everything. They did not have confession. They did not have a communion. They had dinner. They shared a dinner, but it was not like the Catholics later said. It was something else. You know, they had these dinners. He preached in hills, in the woods, in a river. He also sometimes got on a boat, and you know, he talked to people. They did not meet in temples. So I realized that everything that I had been taught as a Catholic is not what Jesus taught. Okay, he never wanted to create another religion. His teaching was more a way of life. Okay, so when I studied this Sanatana Dharma, which is the ancient religion that existed in before the Hinduism arose in India, the Sanatana Dharma is the path, the way. In Buddhism also, they use the word Dharma, the way. Also, when in the Gospels, in the New Testament, there's a part where the Romans capture Paul, and one of them asks Paul. At that moment, they were not known as Christians. That name was adopted much later. So they asked him, "Hey, Are you one of the members of the way? So I said, wow, the way. Everybody uses that word, the way. It's a way of life. It's not a religion. It's a way of life, the way or the path. Okay. So I found that this term has been used in many different places, and that this way of life is the same in all religions. The mystics of all religions have known this way, and it is not ruled by intellectual norms. It is not ruled by books. It is not ruled by anything you can say or write about. It is ruled by going within, contacting your essence, and learning that when you reach silence, you know, just like in the Bible, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." In silence dwells God. So all this war against religions. One of the things that I also noticed is that it happens a lot among Christians. Uh, I Catholics say, no, no, we are the only ones that know the truth. If you don't follow Catholicism, you are doomed. But all the others, sects or the other Christians say the same. Hey, if you're not Lutheran, you're damned. Only we have we are saved. And I noticed that too when I joined many religions. And for example, if I went to a Buddhist temple, they say, no, no, we are the only ones that know what life is about. And then I went to the Hindus, I went to the several Hindu temples, and I also went to many meetings of Sai Baba, which who taught Sanatana Dharma. And I also felt the same. Every group thinks that only they are saved. I became a Freemason. I became a Gnostic. I have practiced many religions, and in every religion, people say our way is the only way. So that is an optical illusion. So basically, uh, around 4 years ago, after reaching this conclusion and writing, I wrote over 20 books, but still I did not understand what I had experienced. I met this Spanish journalist. I'm a journalist, and we started working together. And she told me she had a near death experience. Back then, I knew about near death experience, but I never paid attention to them. And when I told her I had had that oneness experience with the light, she said, "Hey, I also had that same experience." And I said, "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I could see up and down in all directions at the same time." And I said, "Wow." She also said she went to this dark place before going to the light. And I said, "Wow, this is really strange." And she started telling me about other people she knew who had also they had near death experiences. So I became really interested. And since I'm a journalist, I told her, "Look, I'm going to start interviewing people." I saw videos on YouTube that showed other people's near death experiences. But I said, no, no, I have to find this out for myself. More or less what you're doing, Jay. I need to interview people. One thing is to watch a video, but another is to actually talk with those people. So when I started asking them, I found that many of them went to this dark place, which they call the void, including PMH Atwater, who talks about it, including many of the people I have interviewed, and they also merged with this light. A lot of them talk about 360 vision. They can see in all directions at the same time. They also mentioned this oneness experience. And I said, wow, for the first time in my life, I said, wow, I'm, I'm finally meeting people who also had more or less a similar experience. Because when I joined the different religions and I asked around, no one knew what had happened to me. All they could say was, follow us and you will be saved. Follow us and you will reach the truth. Follow us and you will reach the light. But no one said, look, I experienced something similar. So when I started interviewing near death experiencers, I realized that they had gone through something different, but then something else happened. They each had completely different experiences, although they had common elements. But one could see Jesus, another perhaps saw Buddha, another didn't see Jesus or Buddha. They saw someone, an angel. Others saw beings of light. And when I asked them, "Hey, what did Jesus look like?" Some said, "No, he was a being of light." The other said, "Yeah, he's blonde." The other said, "No, he had dark skin and dark hair." So what's going on? I said, "What's going on?" If they all went to the light, if they all had similar experiences. So I said, wow, I need to find out what's going on. So I started studying Carl Jung. Carl Jung he didn't study near death experiences, but he studied mystical visions and mystical dreams. And he came up with a term which is the archetypes. He said, in a dream, for example, if I dream with a divinity or with God, and I am Hindu, in my dream, I will see a Hindu God. If I am a Buddhist, I probably will see a Buddhist deity. If I am a Christian, probably I will see Jesus or an angel. So we each see these beings according to our culture and understanding. But this archetype is like a filter that we each have. And that's why all the religions are different yet share common roots. And that's why all near death experiences are different yet share the same common roots. That's why all the dreams, the mystical dreams that we may have, they have common roots, but they are completely different. And that's why your God and my God are different, yet there is only one God. So that was my final conclusion, was what I call the Tower of Babel syndrome. What is the Tower of Babel syndrome? In the Bible, they mention this Tower of Babel. People started building a tower that would reach heaven, and God, in order to stop them, he made them each speak a different language so they could not understand each other. And that way they stopped, there was confusion, and they stopped constructing or building this Tower of Babel. So what happens? This Tower of Babel represents all the means that we have to reach God, oneness, to reach heaven. It can be meditation, it can be a near death experience, it can be psychedelics, it can be dreams, or it can be simply a spiritually transformative experience. But once we reach the higher level, once we experience those angels or those guides or Jesus or Buddha, when we come back, we each come back speaking a different language. Why? Because I will say, I saw Buddha. You will say, nah, Buddha wasn't up there. I saw Jesus. And the other will say, nah, I saw Krishna. And the other will say, no, no, I saw a light being. No, I saw the Arcturians. I saw the Pleiadians. I saw the White Brotherhood, the Ascended Masters. No, 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 no. I saw the extraterrestrials. And each will be convinced, absolutely convinced, that only they have the truth. So, what does that teach me, at least? The truth is completely relative. That no matter who you see, it's not that it is an illusion, it's only an interpretation. It is only an interpretation. And that we cannot say, my truth, not even this. I cannot say that the Tower of Babel syndrome explains, or the Tower of Babel theory explains it all. No, that is also an illusion. Whatever we think, whatever we say regarding life or trying to explain it, is affected by the Tower of Babel syndrome. We each think we have the truth. We each think that only our truth exists. That's why if you and I get into an argument, it's really hard to agree unless we agree beforehand, you know. But if you have one point of view,
Mhm.
for example, in the elections, a Republican and a Democrat, it's really hard for them to agree on anything. They probably both love their country. They probably both want the best, but they are convinced that only they have the truth. And this goes for any religion. I believe there are holy people in any religions or in all religions, but they will never agree. And this is why there are so many holy wars or religious wars. I'm sure that the war in Palestine, I'm sure that the Hebrews and the Palestinians are both, especially the young guys who go to war, they go to war honoring God, their God. They think they are right. You know, they each side, just like the Republicans and the Democrats, each side thinks they are doing the right thing. But it's only an illusion. The illusion is when we think that the other people are wrong and that only we are right. Why? Because there are good people in all religions. There are good people, there are good Republicans and good Democrats, and there are bad Republicans and bad Democrats. You cannot say all Republicans are good or all Republicans are bad. And you cannot say all Democrats are good and all Democrats are bad. You cannot say all Christians are good, all Christians are bad, or all Catholics. So I believe that to be a real Christian, you don't even have to be a Christian. I believe that 3,000 years ago, before Jesus was born, there were true Christians, people who like to help their neighbors, people who were followed the precepts that would later be imparted by Jesus, which was to gather your treasure in the spiritual world. And I believe 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, when people had near death experiences, they also met this loving being of light that irradiated love that we call Jesus. But 10,000 years ago, they probably gave him a different name. Back in Egypt, they probably called him Osiris. In ancient Greece, they probably said, "Yes, I had a near-death experience." They did not call it that way, but I died, I came back, and I saw Apollo. You saw Apollo? Yeah, he was a light being of loving. He radiated love. So everyone has, everyone can see these beings, and they have seen them for thousands and thousands of years because they were around even before mankind appeared. Apparently, they live in another dimension where there is no time. So if there is no time, they have always existed. And we also belong to that dimension. So that's basically what I don't know if it's a bit complicated, but I tried to summarize all my research in these minutes that you have. So you have been very kindful to offer to me, Jay. Thank you.
Have you ever wanted to learn to meditate? Check out my book, Meditation for Everyone: How to Quickly Have a More Peaceful, Mindful, and Fulfilled Life, and support this channel. With Meditation for Everyone, you will learn to quickly and easily meditate, relieve stress and anxiety, alleviate depression, and have more joy, peace, and relaxation. What you will learn: mindfulness, the art of stillness, step by step on how to meditate, strategies for overcoming challenges to meditation, and much more. D. Mason said this: "This is a nice meditation book, even for those already meditating." I agree with the statements that it will help to have a more peaceful, mindful, and fulfilled life. 4.6 star rating, available on Amazon.